radio, Webster Tarpley, with a critique of the demagogic performance of Obama. Mainly, it's a deadly attack on Social Security, camouflaged as a jobs program. This is an amazing exercise of demagogy. The Democrats are worried about the Anthony Weiner seat in Forest Hills in Queens. If the Republicans get that one, that's a very ominous sign. Watch McCaskill, Tester, Manchin of West Virginia, see what they say about Obama's programs, because a lot of these people are going to be leaving the sinking Obama ship. It can't happen too fast, and we're still waiting for the Ulsterman predictions that somebody's going to come forward and run against him based on this. The Enron anniversary, of course, we remember the rape of California by Enron. Right? This was an amazing exercise. This is what free market means in practice. Deregulation and free market mean that Skilling, Fastow, and Lay rape the state of California, and it's done under political cover from reactionary Republicans like Bush and so forth in Washington, D.C. That's a very important feature that should always be remembered together with 9/11, because that is what exposed the inherent bankruptcy of that company. We're obviously looking at the case of Bank of America. The Bloomberg Business Week this week, picture of Brian Moynihan, the head of Bank of America. Can this man save Bank of America? And the problem is, of course, they're getting sued by everybody and his brother, right? The federal government is now suing a whole bunch of banks, but Bank of America has very special problems all their own. Bank of America has been sued in the past by Fannie and Freddie concerning these mortgages. Some of those are winding down. There are still investor fraud claims, and the government has accused Bank of America of mortgage fraud. So, as one analyst here says in the article, Lou Barnes, an analyst, says, the problem for Moynihan is that everybody is suing him, and he can't know when the suits will stop. So this guy Barnes is from Premier Mortgage Group in Boulder, Colorado. He says Moynihan is doing as well as any little Dutch boy can, sticking his fingers in the dike, except the tide is rising. The main problem with Bank of America, of course, is that they absorbed Countrywide. And Countrywide, with, remember, Angelo Mozillo, these were champions in subprime, but mainly in derivatives, collateralized debt obligations based on subprime. That's where it's located. Now let's shift over to Libya and Syria here. We were hoping to have Mahdi Darius Nazem Roaya on, but he's in the 9/11 conference in Toronto, and I guess we can't reach him. The situation with Libya, some people say it's International Protection of Civilians Day. Well, that's a bitter irony. Call it Imperialism Day or Interference Day or Hypocrisy Day. The Desert Fox, Muammar Gaddafi, falling back on the Tuaregs and the Berbers of the North African desert, a huge area, impossible to control, right? Borders really non-existent from Libya to Niger, from Niger to Burkina Faso, from Libya to Algeria, in that part of the world. Very, very ill-defined. So Gaddafi has sent yet another defiant message. This is now habitually done by way of Syrian television. So he's mocking the stuff about the big brouhaha in the Western media about the 250-car Libyan convoy going into Niger. Well, he says he does that all the time. Interpol has put out a warrant for Gaddafi. Gosh, Interpol, we're still waiting for Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, Wolfowitz, and the rest of those neocons from the Iraq War. Crimes against humanity, huh? Well, Interpol. Interesting. Interpol, of course, very heavy Nazi influence that went on for a long time after World War II. The people in power now in Tripoli are the Al-Qaeda globalizers. We've got Jibril in Tripoli. The question, of course, is this guy a dead man walking? The terrorist leader Salabi Salabi is in the same league with Belhaj Hasidi Hassadi. Salabi says that Jibril and Jalil, the former Gaddafi people in the National Transitional Council, the rebel council of Benghazi, they have to go. Salabi says that the al-Qaeda gunmen have got to take over everything. How interesting. The New York Times is worried about many crates of surface-to-air missiles of Russian modern manufacture. 3,000 of these are now missing. Are they going into the hands of al-Qaeda? We'll soon find out. Belhaj and Hasidi Hassadi, all the same guy, this has now been commented on by people in the Obama White House, very vague boilerplate. They're trying to reassure people, sort of on the model of what Sarkozy had done the week before. There is now a growing backlash against the rebel administration. There's only a question of time, right? The Libyan population will detest, they will hate these rebels within a matter of weeks. The New York Times, actually the Washington Post, highlights Ajaylat, A-J-A-Y-L-A-T, Ajaylat. Ajaylat, 90% of the people are pro-Gaddafi, and the frictions between the interlopers, the NATO puppets, and the green loyalists of Gaddafi, these are obviously growing. The U.S. media are trying to keep the Syrian story alive, but it seems to me with very little grist for their mill, very little to report, right? It's another Friday, and there are some marches, but the main thing seems to be that the back of the Muslim Brotherhood death commandos and death squads has been broken by the Syrian army. This, however, feeds back into the story at the beginning. The fact that the destabilization of Syria is not going well at all is obviously a big problem for the imperialist planners, and this is where that flight forward into terrorism and martial law seems to be beckoning them. And whether that happens or not is up to people. By the way, I had some guy write me this week saying, I don't trust you because some of the things you say will happen will not happen. The point of a lot of these things is to be wrong. The point of predicting a terror event is not to say after the fact, look how smart I am. That's despicable. The point of it is to prevent it from happening. Your goal is to be wrong and to make yourself wrong. That's the whole point. To be wrong is to be successful when you've identified something serious. That's what happened with the Kenny Bunkport warning. That's what I hope will happen this time. Although we're not quite at that same level yet, although we're getting there. So these are the issues. Now, let's then. One further thing. China, the agitation in Chinese Turkmenistan, in Xinjiang province, by the Uyghurs, with obviously their spiritus rector here, Rabia Kadir, out here in Northern Virginia, possibly living close to Hifter of the Libyan cohorts until quite recently. This is now growing, and it's going on, and the responsibility has been claimed by an organized force, and it's a terrorist group. And I'm afraid we have to say, without any doubt, that the prime suspects in this question are Anglo-American intelligence. All right, leaving the international situation aside, repeating, though, once again, the question of the terror threat, we're going to devote the last segment now to, once again, the question of credit stimulus by a central bank. Not fiscal stimulus, not monetary stimulus, but credit stimulus. We'll be back in a minute.